Hello and welcome back. I'm Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and it is vlog day again. So happy to see every single one of you. So I recently had to order a bunch more tumblers because I'm still doing this. This is a next batch that, anyways, I had to order a bunch more through Mother Tumbler because that's where I got those. And I happened to order this. I figured maybe I could get it done this weekend because I know Halloween's like Tuesday, so I'm like, well, I guess I better do something with it soon before Halloween, you know? So I'm going to show you guys what this is and let's see what we can get done with it. So for anybody who has not seen these specifically, these are only through Mother Tumbler. You can only find them there. And it is a stainless steel tumbler that is in a shape of a Skellie. So there's some of us out there that are just, you know, into this, you know. I think it's super adorable, and I do have other ideas for other times of the year, like Christmas and all that. So this could be for any time of the year because, like I said, there's a lot of people out there that are into these all year round. And not just for Halloween, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm one of those people too. So I'm just saying. Anyways, so this is double-walled stainless steel. This is what the lid looks like. I want you guys to get an up-close look at it. Like I said, in case you're curious, like you've seen these and you're just wondering what they look like, this is exactly what they look like. So I really honestly had no idea what I was doing when I started doing this. This was all like, just as I was going, I was coming up with stuff. Now, I knew for sure I wanted to do something with the lid and I wanted to give it kind of like a crown. So I have these. I actually purchased these off Amazon. They're for candles, and it's kind of like crystals. There we go. They're crystals, and I knew if I could use it just right, I could use it as like maybe a crown for it. So I kind of put that off to the side and thought, okay, well, we'll see where that takes me. But that's the absolute beauty of art. It is such a roller coaster of emotions and feelings whenever you're trying to come up with something. But boy, that feeling of once you're all done and everything came together, it is such a good feeling. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and tape off where the lid goes, just the threads right around the top there. And I'm just going to follow that line right above where that skull impression ends. So that way that stays nice and silver. And I'm not worried about the lid because my idea is to just pour the epoxy right in that indent right around the edge there right where I was pointing at. So now next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give it a bit of a sanding. And then I'm just going to wipe it clean with a dry paper towel. Then I'm going to go ahead and take it outside and I'm going to go ahead and spray paint the whole thing just a regular black, just a basic black. Remy's helping me, that's my cat. But I went ahead and did about 2 coats of that, and I'm going to let that dry, and then we're ready to move on to the next step. So after that dried, I am going to, what am I going to do? Oh, right, I'm doing the epoxy. Oh my goodness. I'm going to add a little bit of silver sparkle dust, and I'm actually going to do this in every single round of epoxy that I do. I have, what do I have here? I think it's about 10 mLs of epoxy. I'm just doing a thin coating. The reason why I'm going to be doing that is because I want to do a tape job for the face itself to kind of make the face more pronounced and make it look more like skull, you know, with the cracking and everything. So I want to make sure that this has a decent amount of epoxy on it so that way once I go to do the taping, it doesn't peel back the epoxy, which it could happen if, you know, you move on right away and that epoxy is still, even after a day or two, it's still kind of soft and it could peel back if it's too thin. So you just want it a little bit thicker so that way it doesn't peel your epoxy back if you're going to move on pretty quick into the next step. So right after I applied the epoxy, I went ahead and pulled that tape. I'm going to hit it up with my torch here and then I'm going to let that cure. So here it is after I pulled it off, it's all cured. And if you look at it up close, you can see the contouring of where that skull face is. And I'm going to use that contour that I can see on my end. And I'm going to tape off the skull area. So in order to get that curve that I would like for the face, I'm going to use electrical tape because you can manipulate the electrical tape. You can stretch it and turn it and curve it in the direction that you need it to. Versus, there we go, the painter's tape, which you really can't do that with. So I'm just going to go ahead and stretch that and bend that and form that to the area I would like to block off. I would also like to mention, you guys are going to see me using my X-Acto knife to kind of cut that tape so that way, you know, I can get it right where I need it to be. You just want to be very, very gentle again with your X-Acto knife when you go to cut, because again, you could cut straight through your epoxy at this point right now because, like I said, it is pretty thin right now. So just be careful as you're cutting. All right, so we have all the areas blocked off we needed blocked off. I even have the painter's tape up around the threads as well. I have where I don't want any paint, and now I'm ready to move on to the next step. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I had planned on spray painting this, but then I'm like, you know what, no. I am going to use Crackle paint. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be doing a Crackle paint job over top. I have been doing this almost 6 years. And I have had the same jar of Crackle liquid medium, there we go, Crackle medium, since I started, okay? And it's still running strong, guys, still to this day. If you guys have watched any older videos of me doing a Crackle job, this is the same jar. Okay, that's how long this stuff lasts. If I can find it, I'll make sure to put it down there. But last time I went to Michael's, I could not find it. This medium is so easy to work with. All you do is slap it on with a mop brush, okay? You want it to dry completely. That's the whole point of this one, is this one needs to be dried completely versus the Elmer's glue, okay? The Elmer's glue, you have to apply the paint while the glue is still wet. This needs to be dry completely, and you'll know it's dry completely. You'll see it kind of gets like this hazy look to it after it's nice and dry, but if it's not dry, then you won't get the crackle effect. So just load on your glaze. I let that dry completely, and now I'm going to be adding this lamb's wool by Pop of Color. I'm going to make sure I have a decent amount of paint. I don't want to glob my paint on, but you just want to make sure you have a decent amount of paint so that way when you go to do your one swipe that it covers pretty well for you, because I find that if you glob it on too much, I don't know, I just don't like the way it looks. So just, you know, the thinner, not the thinner, like medium, the better. Okay, so just go ahead and paint your paint on. Just try to keep it one stripe, all right? Just one swipe and then keep moving. Okay, after that, I'm going to go ahead and take my nifty hair dryer again that I've had for the last almost 6 years now, doing all my Tumbler projects. I'm going to take my nifty hair dryer and I'm going to go ahead and get that crack started. And I really, really love the way this looks. It looks like kind of natural to me, you know, kind of looks more like a skull than anything else. So I really, really like how that's turning out so far. But everything goes very fast if you're using a blow dryer to dry everything. I mean, this really only took me about 5 minutes to do, you know. It took me longer to tape off everything, you know, than to paint. So now I'm just going to go ahead and peel back that tape. And I take that back. I didn't peel back all the tape. I left the tape up around the threads because we're going to move right into getting another coat of epoxy over top. And again, just like I did, or like I mentioned earlier, there we go. I'm going to be adding a little bit more sparkle dust into this coating of epoxy. Now I am going to go ahead and get started on for the lid as well. So I'm mixing up quite a bit more of epoxy than usual. So what did I do? 1 pump each of my A and B. So that's 2 ounces. Yes, 1 ounce each, 2 ounces altogether of epoxy. I know my vlogs are so professional, you know, that's why I love vlogs. I feel like it's just a little bit more, you know, slowed down and it's not so like tutorial, you know, anyways. So now I'm going to go ahead and coat my tumbler with a bit of that epoxy and put that on my turner and hit it with my blowtorch and everything. Oh, and make sure you pull your tape off so that way you don't epoxy your tape down to the threads as well. Okay. Anyways, moving on. I wanted to do, as I was going, I came up with the idea of doing a dried flower crown. I thought that'd be totally adorable. So I actually had a bunch of these dried flowers left over from another tutorial that I did, which I'll tag that tutorial for you guys if you'd like to check that out if you're new to my channel and hadn't seen that one. But I have a ton of those flowers left, and all I'm going to simply do is put those right down into the mold like so, just tucking them in. And I'm not too worried if any anything kind of sticks up because we're going to come through and sand everything in the end anyway. So you just want to fill up however many flowers you would like to add. And I like about how full that is. And so now we're going to go ahead and start applying, or not applying, adding the epoxy. Goodness. So I'm just going to extremely slowly. The reason why I want to do very slowly is so that way those air bubbles, you know, like air trapped around the dried flowers and everything, kind of have time to kind of go with the motion of the epoxy as it's heading up to the top there. So I'm just going to add that extremely slowly so that way, again, those air bubbles can rise with the epoxy. And I'm not going to fill this all the way. I'm going to stop right where that center meets the edge of the epoxy. So I'm not going to fill it in all the way like you're supposed to do, because this is supposed to be for a candle votive. You just want to fill it to the top of where the center is. There we go. So I started squishing it around to make sure that those flowers kind of would release any little air bubbles. It got air bubbles anyways, but honestly, guys, it's so cute anyways. I mean, but I got most of the big air bubbles out. There we go. And I decided to go ahead and there was a little bit of epoxy left over in the bottom of my cup. So I'm actually going to use black epoxy dye, and I'm going to take a little teeny tiny dab of that black epoxy dye and color the rest of the epoxy that's left over my cup, and just fill the rest of it up with that. And I feel like it just really ties in with what we're going to do at the very end. It kind of adds that kind of smokiness to the bottom of it. So I'll show you guys. But you've seen the small amount of dye I put on that stick, and that's all you need, okay? This stuff goes a long ways. I mean, this is meant for like gallons of epoxy. So just a teeny tiny dab, fill up the rest of that bottom with a bit of that black look, and we're gonna stick it off to the side and let that cure. So this is the next morning, and we are ready to finish up applying the rest of the little decals and everything and kind of get it finished up. I kind of had overnight to think about how I want to finish it, so I decided I'm going to be doing some flowers and just kind of see what else I have in my drawers to kind of finish this up. Now is the moment of truth with this to see how to get it out of this this mold too. It was kind of hard. So you really had to like pull hard to get it off. And I was nervous. I didn't want to like break anything or bend anything, but it was fine. It did just fine. But look how adorable. I love it so much. I love how natural it looks. I love the sparkle from the little bit of sparkle dust that's in there. I think this is going to be absolutely adorable. And I'm so happy that I went this direction with it. Okay, so for the tumbler itself, I decided I wanted to put flowers all over the skull itself. So the great thing about this is, because we used a black kind of base underneath, is when using the clear water slide paper, it will bend and form as long as I just kind of like hold it still, as you see with my finger, and then I use my other finger to push it and to stretch it and kind of manipulate it around the curves of everything that we have going on this specific tumbler. So, and I'm going to use my little squeegee to get out that water, and then I also have a paper towel that I will use as well to kind of press water out from underneath. But I'll put in the description box these flowers if you guys want to use these flowers. Everything I'm using I'll put in the description box for you guys, okay? In case you want to remake it or you want to use some of the materials that I've used today, you can go ahead and do that. And if you're brand new and you have no idea how to use clear water slide papers, I have another video that I will show you guys how to do that. Super simple. I know you guys got this. So now's the point in time where I'm just going to take all of my flowers, and if I need to, I'm going to cut them apart and kind of piece them together if I need to go around, but I'm not too concerned if it drips over or dips over, there we go, into the black area, because you won't be able to see it anyways. So it will only show up on the white surface. So I'm just going to continue to fill in all my water slides here until I like the way it looks. I even did around the front and everything. But after I get done applying all my flowers, I'm going to set that off to the side for about 30 minutes, and then we're ready to move on to the next step. So while that is drying, we're going to go ahead and prep our crown here to get epoxy down to our lids. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to take a razor knife and I'm just going to cut away anything that's kind of bulky and big because you want it pretty much flat. So I'm just going to cut away any extra flashing that might be in my way there. Then I'm just going to take some heavy duty sandpaper and I'm just going to press it against that and just rub back and forth until all my edges are nicely sanded. Or not my edges, my bottom. You just want to sand the bottom, not the edges. There we go. Now, as I was sitting here and thinking, I was digging through my drawers and I have a bunch of these $1.25 tree rub-on transfers. I don't know when I bought these. If I can find them online, I'll post them, but I think if you buy online, you have to buy in bulk. So, I mean, that's up to you guys, but I found these and I think I'm going to use them. I was a little nervous, but I actually so like the antique look that it gave it. I feel like it gave everything just a little bit more oomph to the look. So these are very simple. You cut out the image you want. It doesn't matter how far around you cut it because the gold's going to rub off of the backing anyway. So there is a clear backing to it. You want to take that off. And then you're going to take that piece that we have in our hands there and you're just going to put that down where you would like it. You're going to take your finger and you're going to rub it. I use my fingernail too to kind of get in certain spots and kind of rock it back and forth over uneven surfaces like that piece of the cheekbone there. And there we go. We have our first little golden decal down. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I am doing this right over top of the water slide paper that we just did. So there's no coating of epoxy or anything over this. I am doing this right over top of all that. So again, I'm just going to fill this up as to how much I want to do. I did a bunch around the back. I did some around the front. Again, just filling it in just like I did with my flowers. And now we are ready to get some more epoxy over top. So I did about, how much? 20 milliliters of epoxy. There we go. 20 milliliters of epoxy. I put some sparkle dust in it because, like I said, sparkle dust every layer, just because, you know, I like it sparkly. I'm going to go ahead and put a coating of epoxy over top of this. And I left about 5-10 mLs of epoxy down in my cup so that way we could apply that to our lid. So I have that on my turner. I'm going to hit it up with my torch. Again, right onto our stick, down into that extra epoxy, I'm going to apply some black epoxy dye. And I'm only going to apply this epoxy right into that outer ring completely around. And you'll be able to see it on your level if you're doing it the same way. But you'll be able to see that the epoxy is right up to that next circle ring. There we go. And you just want to take your popsicle stick and you want to smooth that out really well. I'm being very careful not to touch my crown with my epoxy fingers. I'm going to use the palm of my hand and hold it, and I'm going to apply that black epoxy to the bottom of that and simply place that right down on top of the lid because some of that does touch the outer part of the lid, so that way that part gets connected to the lid really good and the inner part is connected with the epoxy that's on the inside as well. And I let that set off to the side and cure, and look at this. I am so happy with how this turned out. Like, I was so nervous. I really didn't know which direction I was going, but I absolutely love its little crown. I love how natural everything looks. I just really do like everything about it, and I hope you guys like it too. But I think that's going to do it for me today. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.